Last year and all this session, we've been telling Minnesotans that the DFL would be on the side of the middle class. We told them we'd balance our state books in an honest and open and transparent way and in a responsible way. And we told them not only would we balance the deficit and pay off the school shift, but we'd make needed investments in education and job creation and in property tax relief. And today we are going to be delivering on those promises. That is what this tax bill is about. It's about accomplishing those investments for the people of Minnesota. First, we do have to acknowledge, again, the reality that we face a $627 million budget deficit. This is a bill that is going to allow us to do that in a way that does not involve gimmicks, that does not involve accounting shifts, that does not involve the things that have gotten us into the trouble in the past. We're doing this in an honest way. Secondly, we do have a school shift to pay off. We want to pay that off in full. That's something that the House Republicans and the House Democrats are united in, except we're the only ones that's actually come up with a plan to do it. And we are doing that in this bill today, and we are doing it by asking the top 1% of Minnesotans, people making $500,000 a year, to pay a bit more for 2 years or less. It's going to click off at the end of those 2 years or earlier if economic growth continues to pay off that school debt. It will not, and you're going to hear rhetoric on the floor today to the contrary, but this will not affect mom and pop small businesses in Minnesota. That is the fact, despite the rhetoric you may hear today on the House floor. But closing the deficit and paying back our schools is not, it's an important order of business, but it's not the only order of business. You saw yesterday a bill coming off the House floor that 10 Republicans voted for, a bipartisan bill to invest significant amount of money in our K-12 education system, our E-12 education system, doing things we've never done in Minnesota before, including a substantial investment in early childhood education. That's the first time ever an investment in all-day, everyday kindergarten for Minnesotans, for Minnesota families. And tomorrow, we're going to be passing a bill off the House floor, the higher education bill, for the first time in a decade, actually putting new money into our higher education system to hold down tuition and to start to attack this problem of access to education and student debt. This tax bill is what allows us to do those things. The other thing that you're going to hear on the House floor, I imagine today from the Republicans, is this whole tested line that we should go line by line through the budget to identify wasteful spending. And that is something that we should do. We should always be vigilant about making sure the dollars we spend are important. But let's tally up what they've done so far. Facing, well, first of all, the 10 people that voted for the $550 million education bill yesterday, they should at least come up with $550 million in wasteful spending or spending cuts that they want to address if they're not going to vote for this tax bill today. They've come up with $630,000. And that doesn't even address the deficit. It doesn't address paying back the school shift. $630,000, it's a start, but it's not even a scratch on the surface. And I imagine they have gone line by line through the budget, and that's what they've come up with so far. So we would like to engage in that conversation with them going forward, but they clearly have to do better than that. At the end of the day, what this tax bill is about today is allowing us to make the kind of investments that is going to make this state stronger and better. It is asking the wealthiest Minnesotans to pay the amount that middle-class Minnesotans pay today in state and local taxes. It's asking big corporations, by closing some corporate loopholes, to play on the same level playing field as small businesses in Minnesota. It is asking Minnesotans to participate in making these investments that truly is going to build a stronger middle class for the state. And is going to set our state on a path toward prosperity and competitiveness in a global society. I'm going to turn it over to Representative Murphy to talk a little bit more.
Good morning, and it's nice to see you. We've had a long bunch of days on the floor of the House, and there's been a lot of debate and a lot of rhetoric and a lot of amendments. But before us today, for Minnesotans, is really a pretty simple and clear choice. If we're going to make strategic investments in our future, we need to be able to pay for them. And the bill that Representative Lenczewski is going to offer today, and we're going to debate on the floor of the House, is that means to honestly pay for the budget that we're proposing. And so Minnesotans, while they hear a lot of noise coming out of the Capitol sometimes, I think the message for today is a simple one. And it resonates with what they told us all last summer and fall as we traveled the state and talked with Minnesotans. They were frustrated, and you've heard me say this before, they were frustrated with the fact that the government shut down and we balanced the budget using gimmicks and shifts and we borrow. And we borrow from our schools, and Minnesotans would like us to fix that. And we're going to do that today in the tax bill. We're going to pay back the shift. They were frustrated that the Republicans chose to cut the market value homestead credit, and people across the state saw their property taxes go up. And today we're going to fix that in the tax bill. And more Minnesotans are going to see property tax relief as a result. And you're going to see us pay back our schools. And we're going to raise the revenue necessary to make the strategic investments necessary to build a better Minnesota for the future. Minnesotans have a clear choice. We believe this budget, along with the tax bill today, aligns with their priorities. We're going to hear Republicans say this is not the direction to go, and we expect to help you debate, not necessarily a partisan debate, but a debate on the policy before us. And we hope that if they object to this bill, that they bring their own plan forward, one that pays back the ship, eliminates the deficit, and invests in the things that they're going for. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Representative Lenczewski, the author of the bill. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Good morning. Nice to see you all. It's great to have this day get here because I know a lot of people want to talk about the tax bill today. So today, the way to think about the tax bill, I think, is to think about it as three big pieces. We're going to ask those who, as a percentage of their income, pay the least amount in taxes in Minnesota to chip in a little bit more. We're going to, before we go to general taxpayers and ask them to defer costs of the use of cigarettes and alcohol, we're going to ask the users of those discretionary purchases to help set off some of the costs of the state of Minnesota, and we're going to close some of the tax preferences that parts of the corporate community have received over many years. And those tax benefits have made the rest of us all pay higher taxes. So we're going to close some of those. So those are kind of the three big pieces to think about in the tax bill. On the raising side. On the spending side, we're providing dramatic and permanent property tax relief to over 1 million Minnesotans. We're going to restore what was lost when the now minority, eliminated the homestead credit permanently. We're going to bring back that property tax relief to Minnesotans, either in increased refunds, new refunds that they never received, and we've included renters in that. We're also going to honor the partnership we have with our cities and counties by restoring some of the aids and credits that Minnesota has had in its property tax relief pocket for about 40 years, but it's been cut or held constant for about the last 10. So we really are preferring to give relief to property taxpayers. We understand that it's a very regressive tax, and so we're going to, like I said, ask those who are at the highest levels of income to pay a little more. The speaker mentioned some of the rhetoric around job creators and small businesses. The combination of all the taxes in the tax bill equal 3.3% of small businesses would pay on a dollar they earn over $400,000. So if you earn $400,000 on that first dollar, your first $400,000 stays where you are today, but every dollar after that, you're going to have a new marginal effect. And we think that's fair. These are the people who are doing very well and are able to first cut all their costs and their business inputs. They're able to deduct all that in the tax bill before they take profit out. So we think this is a really fair approach. As was mentioned by Majority Leader Murphy, people do have to pay for the things they want. And so what is the point of this tax bill? I've talked about the contents, but the point of it is we have a deficit. You all know that, but it just can't be said enough. We have a deficit. We keep having them, and we're tired of them. We want to get rid of them in a permanent, balanced way. We also have a problem where we have not paid back the students, and we need to do both. Those two items are $1.4 billion. So before we move into new initiatives, we're honoring that commitment, and we look forward to hearing any other alternatives that may happen on the floor. But at this point, this is what we think is best for all Minnesotans.